It may not be the Super Bowl, but our 50th episode is here. So get that popcorn ready. For this milestone episode, Bubba went after a guest who knows what it takes to cover big events and who made a viral weather video that took the country by storm. That even went international. KWWL Sports Anchor and Friday Night Heroes legend Mark Woodley steps into the studio to tell all. So, get ready for an in-depth look at the man who is just as good behind the camera as he is in front of it.
Looking good.
The pride of Dike, New Hartford and Central College himself. Here's your host, and a special congratulations for making it this far. You've earned it, pal.
Wow, 50 episodes. You're almost as amazing as I am.
Can it, Jimmy? This is his moment. Let's hear it for him, folks. Bubba Seaman!
Ladies and gentlemen, what is up? Welcome back for another episode of the best, fastest growing real-life podcast on the market. Before we get to today's episode and our special guest, I got to remind everyone listening or watching, that's right, you can watch us in flawless high definition. Wave to the camera, Mark. That's it right there, baby. That's 1080p. It can go 4K, but my computer can't handle it.
I would have shaved today if I knew we were going to be in high def. You got to let me know these things in advance.
That's right. Oh, man. But before we get to him, I got to remind everybody, do not forget to subscribe, follow, like, share, wherever you're listening or watching. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all that stuff. Leave us that 5-star rating. Click that little bell to be notified about every new episode. Tell us what you think. Like or dislike. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. Just leave a comment. Tell us what you think. That is how we continue to grow and reach more and more people. And we are growing. It hasn't stopped yet. And then head over to our social media. Follow our Instagram, our Facebook, and our TikTok. Everyone said you got to get on TikTok. I said, hey, told my wife, I said, if you want to do it, do it. I can't do any more. So we're on TikTok. You get on there, you'll see these funny reels. You'll see giveaways, merch giveaways. We just got done doing one. So share with your friends on your social media. That'd mean a lot to me there, too. You need some new drip or a new fit. That still doesn't sound right. Trying to use this young language. Was that it, James? Drip and fit? Yeah. If you want some of our merch, if you want one of our T-shirts that our guest today is leaving with for free, you can hit us up. We'll sell you one at cost. We're not making any money off this stuff. We're just trying to get the word out. But
I'm glad he verified you used those words correctly.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea.
That's my green room over there. I bounce everything off of him when it comes to the younger generation. That's still just, that doesn't sound right, but... just email if you want some of our merch, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Email us, whatisuppodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what you want, shirt, hat, whatever size, color you want. We will hook you up. My wife is good at that. So then send us a picture of yourself wearing our awesome gear. That would be great. I'll throw you out there on the internet, see if you can't get famous. And I had a new idea that if you see anybody out there, if you see my guest today wearing his shirt somewhere around, I want you to grab a picture and I want you to send that, tag me in that so I can post that as well. So, okay, now here comes the obligatory, is that a word? Like, it's an obligation.
You were close on that one. We'll let it go. I believe it's obligatory, but we're
okay.
It was close enough. Obligatory is fine, too.
Yeah, I entered an agreement with my buddies over there at the Steve Brown Art Center. They're doing good work over there, so I always do this ad read for them. I got to give them a shout out. They're over there at the Steve Brown Art Center, the creative heart of Buchanan County. It is a thriving community where art flourishes, if that's your thing. With dynamic exhibits and interactive workshops, they spark creativity and passion. Discover a world of artistic inspiration at the Steve Brown Art Center. To learn more about the Steve Brown Art Center, just head over to their Facebook page and check out what they're all about. Once you've done all that, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. And let me tell you, we got a good one for you today. Today's guest, everybody knows this guy. He's been covering sports in the Cedar Valley for years. I think since I was in high school, I kind of remember these same guys. This guy has a one-way invitation into all of our living rooms through our televisions when we tune into KWWL Sports at 10. or bringing it home always by covering that Friday Night Heroes game of the week. He always gets that big one. I mean, he's been out to our neck of the woods many a time. So,
by the way, that would be a two-way invitation for everybody watching us, but my house isn't that big, so we're probably going to have to leave it at one way for now.
Yes. You've no doubt seen him roaming the sidelines of our football fields, grabbing those action shots in our gymnasiums, mingling and with those wild and crazy student sections all over the state of Iowa, even interviewing local basketball trick shot legend and our former guest, Mike Sorensen. And who can forget his rise to the top of viral internet sensations when asked to cover on location the great winter storm before Christmas back in 2022.
Well, I can't forget it because people won't let me forget it.
It lives on, man. It will never die. Well, now that his 15 seconds of fame has kind of run its course, he's made time for the best new up-and-coming podcast on the market. So, of course, I'm talking about the ultimate team player and our favorite sports anchor, the pride of Dike, New Hartford, Mark Woodley. What is up, man?
What is up, Bubba? I'm super excited to be here. I'm honestly not sure that Dike, New Hartford claims me, but calling me the pride of Dike, New Hartford, I don't know that those words have ever been spoken at the same time about me, so I feel pretty special right now.
Maybe they didn't in your younger days, but you're a good guy. We all like the work that you do, so they better claim you now. So,
well, I do believe they at least put me on the Facebook page when the winter weather thing came up. Central College, where I went to school, actually tweeted about me when that happened, which is the first time in 25 years that they acknowledged that I went there, so that was pretty special. That was a big thing for me. That's probably my favorite thing that happened. It's like Central College knows I exist.
Yep. They're like, we can't wait for this guy to be out of here. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we know that guy. He's one of us.
Oh no, he did go here.
Sure.
All those 20 years when we ignored him, you're like, we were just kidding.
Yeah.
We loved him the whole time.
Well, I'll give Dike, New Hartford, a shout out. Like, ever since we've been playing them, I don't know if we played them in 5th and 6th grade football or not, but I know we didn't. We played them in junior high, and those were always our toughest games. And we've, in my opinion, we've got a pretty good, talented group of boys, but my goodness.
Yeah, you really do here. You really do.
Dike is just at the top.
A lot of great kids. Coaching staffs are all fantastic.
Yeah.
I think they're fantastic. And I never got to play against Wapsie Valley because Wapsie Valley was not part of the NICL when I was back in school. Dike, New Hartford was. Wapsie joined, I think, 2 or 3 years after I graduated.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm glad we were able to make it happen. We got to give a shout out to my oldest son, Timothy. He is the one who actually tracked you down at, I think it was like a district volleyball game.
It was yeah. This had to be in October, and I was 100% on board with doing it and thinking we were going to do it in the next 2-3 weeks, and here we are about 5 months later, which I will admit, that was entirely my fault. You kept getting after me, and
that's okay.
We finally got it done.
No, that's why in my emails I tell people, hey, this can take a while to get ready. Like, I understand everyone has a life. Like, it's okay. I'm going to send you an email every couple weeks or so, just so we don't lose full connection. But if life happens, life gets busy, and I just don't want people to forget about me completely. If we get to it months down the road, great. That's fine. That's
I like to consider myself somewhat of a decent person, but that whole time I was like thinking, man, you're a really bad person. You need to get on this, Mark. Bubba's waiting, man.
Oh, man. Okay, so for those who've been living under a rock, or we are in like 39 states and 11 countries, so that means at least one person in 39 other states listens to us. There might be people who don't know you, so just kind of brief, short answer for those who don't know you. Tell us just who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of get deeper into it as we go.
Yeah, my name's Mark Woodley. I've been a sports anchor at KWWL for the better part of the last 24 years from when I first interned there. I had a few other jobs in there along the way, but grew up in Dike, Iowa, graduated from Dike, New Hartford High School, Central College after that, obviously. Always kind of wanted to be around sports, and this is the way I found to do it. So here we are, a quarter century later, still at the job.
Yeah. Wife, kids, all that stuff?
Been married 25 years.
Oh,
Thank you.
Come on, James.
James, there you go, James. Took James a minute to get after that.
Yeah.
Yes, as of this past January, we've been married 25 years. Wow. We have 3 kids. I have a sophomore at Hawkeye Community College, a junior, and a 7th grader, both at Dike, New Hartford, and everybody's doing really well. Weirdly enough, none of my kids were interested in sports until this year. My youngest, who was on the autism spectrum, he never showed a lot of interest in sports, liked his YouTube videos and things. And last year, this past fall, he's in 7th grade, and he comes home from school one day, and he says, "Mom, Dad, I went to the football meeting." And we both looked at
Just
each other.
surprised you.
It's like out of the blue. He's never shown any interest in sports. I didn't even know that he knew what football was. So, we got a hold of the coaches because we have to make a few arrangements with them just to make sure everything goes well. And it could not have been any better. His junior high coaches were just fantastic. Joe Huck, the head middle school coach at Dike, New Hartford. Well, I guess it's New Hartford Dike for the middle school. And the middle school is located in New Hartford. But, yeah, they had a great time with him. His teammates were so good to him. And he actually played. Generally, it was late when the game was out of hand. But it's not one of those things where, they put the special needs kid in the end of the game and then everybody – just lets him do his thing. No, he played in moments where it was actually competitive. Now, he's a big kid, so he's going to be pretty difficult for other kids to hurt. But, no, it was the neatest thing ever, and everybody was so good with him. Opposing teams, the Dike New Hartford players, the coaches, the fans. It was so great. And now he's throwing shot put and track. So
there you go.
We haven't gotten to a meet yet, so we'll see how that goes. But it's been so good.
Good. Man, that's about the most positive thing you're going to hear today. So take that, audience. That's what we do here. We brighten your day, don't we? Yes, we do.
But, yeah, that kid surprises us so much. And, man, that was a big one.
Good deal. Yeah, they'll surprise you. That's for sure. All right, let's to finish up our small talk here. We got to address the big thing, the viral video a couple of years. What is that? That's going on 3 years ago now.
A little over 2 years, yeah.
Let's just go ahead and play it for the audience. And if I do this right, I've done this a couple times, and everyone sees me on video, grab my computer and start acting like I know what I'm doing.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. So this is one of KWWL's cuts. Did you edit this, or did someone else?
No, I edited this together.
Okay.
I thought, after that morning that I had seen, there were like a few funny moments in it. So, yeah, I just did a super cut of all of them, and this is what came out.
Okay. Because, there is other Today Show versions, CNN I watched all of those, and then some of those are like 4, 5-minute interviews, and I was like, wow, we can do this. I was like, I wonder if he did this one. So if I do it right, everyone's going to get to see this. We'll hear it, all that good stuff.
Mark, how you feeling out there?
Again, the same way I felt about 8 minutes ago when you asked me that same question, right? I normally do sports. Everything is canceled here for the next couple of days. So what better time to ask the sports guy to come in about 5 hours earlier than he would normally wake up, go stand out in the wind and the snow and the cold, and tell other people not to do the same. I didn't even realize that there was a 3:30 also in the morning. Until today. It's absolutely fantastic, Ryan. I'm used to these evening shows that are only 30 minutes long, and generally on those shows I'm inside. So this is a really long show. Tune in for the next couple hours to watch me progressively get crankier and crankier. How do I get that Storm Chaser 7 duty?
I can't believe they didn't fire this guy.
Got the better end of that deal. That thing's heated. The outdoors currently is not heated.
It's not.
I'll tell you what, Ryan, I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is that I can still feel my face right now. The bad news is I kind of wish I couldn't. Can I go back to my regular job? I'm pretty sure, Ryan, that you guys added an extra hour to this show just because somebody likes torturing me, because compared to 2.5 hours ago, it is just getting colder and colder. Live in Waterloo, for the last time this morning, thankfully, I'm Mark Woodley, News 7, KWWL.
That's Mark Woodley, ladies and
When your
gentlemen.
auto insurance.
Oh, man.
Well, we're not going to watch the auto insurance commercial?
No,
all right.
no. There we go. We'll get back here. Hopefully that all worked like
Yeah, I think that went well.
Wow, man. That is... I think that resonated with people. A, it was just humorous, and B, people hate being out there in bad weather, and you had to do it. So my first question is, why were you out there? Were you guys shorthanded, or what was the deal?
Well, I actually explained it a little bit, and part of that how everything was canceled. You remember this blizzard a couple of years ago? We canceled school like 4 days in advance when we knew it was coming, and so they also knew that I wouldn't have a whole lot to do. So they had asked me, it's like, hey, can you come out and help out with weather on Thursday? I'm like, yeah, fine. They left a lot out. When they said, they were very vague about what I was going to be doing. It's like, hey, can you help out with weather on Thursday? Like, sure, why not? I've got nothing else to do. It's not like I could have said no anyway. I would be like,
yeah,
I said no, like, no, you are coming in on Thursday to help out with weather. I'm like, okay. They did not tell me until the night before at about 7, 8 o'clock that I was going to be doing the morning show, which meant I had to be there at about 3 a.m. So I've got this is about 6 hours from when they called me, and my sleep schedule is not used to that. So it's not like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go to bed now and I'm going to sleep for the next 5 hours. That's not how it works.
Nope.
No, I may have slept 1 or 2 hours that night. They also did not mention that I would be reporting outside. Now, if you remember, the wind chills that morning were at negative 40.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had to do a few overseas interviews because of this whole thing. And so I wanted to do the conversion Fahrenheit to Celsius. Mm-hmm. Turns out it's the exact same. That is where the Fahrenheit and Celsius ranges meet, is at negative 40. So I was like, oh, great. I don't have to do any conversions here. But, so I was pretty tired at that point. I was cold, and I was just, more than anything, I was trying to keep myself entertained. Those lines weren't necessarily meant to entertain other people. I mean, partially they were, but I was just trying to entertain myself because I was really cold. And a lot of people, and the reactions to it were 95% positive, but those 5% that were negative, they were really bad.
Really?
I had a guy who hoped I would get hit by a snowplow. That was a fun one.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. There was some interesting stuff out there.
Wow.
But the best part about it is, out of the negative responses that I've got, a total number of 0 of them were from anybody in Iowa, because everybody around here understood what this feels like.
Yep.
Like the guy who wanted me to get hit by a snowplow was from Austin, Texas. I kind of found him online, found out he's been from Texas his entire life. I didn't say anything mean back to him. I was really nice. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I think the last time that it reached negative 40 in Texas, I think it killed all the dinosaurs.
Yeah, probably.
So,
probably. My goodness. Yeah, they don't know. He doesn't know. Stay in your lane, bro, whoever you are.
It's Mr. Bowtie. I don't think this is going to get back to Mr. Bowtie. That's his online persona.
Okay, go get him, guys. What is up, nation? Go get him. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So my next question is, when it aired, or as it was airing, what did you hear from your bosses, any of the higher ups? Did they think it was funny? Did they think it was like, okay, we're never asking you to do that again?
To be honest, their initial reaction, I have no idea. Were they mad? I don't know. Did they think it was funny? I still don't know, because here's kind of what happened over the next day and a half. Okay, I put that together that morning, put it on Facebook initially.
Okay.
Just, I have a few hundred friends and family. Most people on Facebook, my personal Facebook, if I don't know you, I'm probably not accepting your friend request.
Gotcha.
So it's mostly people I know, family, friends on there. So I'm thinking, okay, this is safe. Because some of the things on there, I could see how somebody might get upset. Like, it looks like, I'm taking a leak on management or something like that. Yeah. Which, by the way, is exactly what the TMZ headline online said I was doing. They didn't say take
I remember that. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. I know. It's okay. It's a mild curse, so I'll say it. But it said, local sportscaster pisses on bosses during ice cold blizzard. Their words, not mine.
TMZ.
I didn't see it the same way, but I still think it's the funniest headline out of all of them.
Yeah.
But no, I hadn't heard from anybody at work initially. And it was my sister-in-law who said, this is really funny. She saw it on Facebook. It's like, you need to put this out there where more people can see it. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to do that.
I dare?
And after a couple more people like, you should do it. I'm like, all right, fine. And I expected this to be like any video I put online. Okay, 30, 40 people like it,
Sure.
A few hundred, maybe 1,000 people see it.
Yep.
And it goes away.
And that's it.
That was going to be the end of it.
Nope.
That's not what happened.
Nope.
And honestly, I don't think this is the funniest video I've ever done. But somehow you said it resonated with people. So the first big name that got a hold of it was Rex Chapman, who has, I think, 1.5, 2 million followers. He retweets it. And it starts to go crazy, and my phone starts dinging all the time. Probably 30 minutes after that, film director Judd Apatow, who does the 40-year-old virgin and stuff, quote tweets it with the word legend, which was up to that point was the most surreal thing that had ever happened to me.
Sure.
Judd's got some 4 million followers, and that's when everything just went bat crap crazy.
Yeah.
And my wife thought it was hilarious because I was home, still hadn't talked to anybody at work, but she made me leave the sound on my notifications on my phone because she thought it was funny, and it was just like dinging
one after another, huh?
every second for hours. After about 2 hours, I was like, okay, I need to.
Wow, yeah, that'd drive you crazy.
Need to turn this off. So again, still haven't talked to anybody at work. Go to bed that night, wake up the next morning, it's already just gone insane. And my phone rings at about 8:30 in the morning, and I look at the caller ID, and I don't answer it right away because I have to show my wife this because this was bizarre. It literally on the caller ID said the letters TMZ.
Really?
On the caller ID, I answered, and my first thought was, how did they get my number? And then my second thought was, oh, this is what TMZ does. They dig things up. Of course, they got my number. And lady's like, hey, we saw your video online. Harvey Levin loved it, really wants to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, I need to talk to people at work before I agree to this.
Yep.
But I feel like I can probably do it. And I'm still thinking at this point I might be in a little bit of trouble over this video. And it's just insane. And I'm thinking, like, how do I approach this before I call him? And before that happens, my phone rings. It's my news director, Andrew Altenburn at KWWL. And he's like, Mark? And I'm like, I don't like where this is going. And all he said is one word. He said my name. So, yeah. He's like, hey, the Washington Post called us, and they want to talk to you. Can I give them your number? Am I allowed to talk to them?
Wow. Well, yeah.
I'm like,
I don't know. Can you?
Right? Yeah. Because also TMZ called an hour ago, and I need to know if I could talk to them too. And they're like, that's fine. Just don't say anything stupid.
Okay.
Which I probably said several things stupid, but that's all right.
If they didn't judge anything you had already said.
So yeah. So that was how my first conversation went. That was pretty much the end of it. Like, yeah, they can call me, whatever. Okay. And then he hangs up. And so by that point, everything had already gone so insane that I don't know if they were upset in the first 24 hours and then realized, like, maybe we should just go with this because
okay. Yeah.
It's going to be hard to pull this one back.
Yep. And
over the course of the next 2 weeks, I think the final count was I did 34 interviews.
Wow.
5 of them overseas, 3 of them with stations in London, and 2 of them with a station in a newspaper in Israel, which was bizarre.
Wow. I didn't see that one. Wow.
There are some triggering videos on YouTube of me that aren't my favorite. There's one in Japanese, so I don't know what the commenter is saying, but I don't think it's saying anything good about me because accompanying his commentation on my thing are the sounds of babies crying.
Oh.
Which makes me believe that I don't want to know what the translation was of what he was saying about me because it doesn't seem like it was good.
No, they're putting you down. They're putting you down.
But no,
Oh.
everybody, like I said, 95% of the comments I got were positive.
Yeah.
And it was, one of the neatest things that ever happened. Central College acknowledged me. Dike, New Hartford acknowledged me.
Finally, I've been waiting for my props from my alma maters.
That's
and-
right.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that was fun. And then wasn't there a commercial? Didn't you do a funny commercial later on at some point? Kind of edgy, kind of.
What?
That was funny too, I remember.
What I did was, a few weeks later, everything was still insane. And I was still having fun with it.
Yeah.
But
Good.
we decided, let's do this video of how all the attention's just really annoying me, which it wasn't.
Okay.
Which is why I thought we could get away with it, because I think most people know me, that I still think this stuff's funny and whatever. Sure. And so Michael Meinard, one of our production guys, who's really good, he does a lot of independent film work and stuff too, so his editing, his shooting, it's just top-notch. We decided to do this fake documentary about what my life is like.
That's what it was.
Ever since this whole thing went viral. And yes, there were a few curse words, but we bleeped them out.
Yep.
And I did have some concerns about that, like, how would certain viewers say, like, well, Mark Woodley's kind of a jerk or whatever. Thankfully, I think I have enough of a reputation for being somewhat decent that that's not how that came off. I got one negative comment about that video but from all the views. It came from my mom.
Oh, that's good.
And my mom's like, well, you didn't have to use the F word. And first of all, I'm like, Mom, we bleeped it out. How do you even know that's what I said?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the best part about it, my mom is a wonderful, almost 90-year-old Christian lady, goes to church every week, spends a lot of time at church,
Awesome.
does all the ladies' dinners and stuff and all that stuff. But when I say she said you don't have to use the F word, she actually didn't say F. She used the actual word, and I've never heard her do that before.
Wow.
And it was the funniest thing ever.
Ma. Wow.
And she wasn't really that mad about it, but she just wanted to make a point.
Sure. Yep. I love satire. I love that, and especially since you guys did bleep it out, I remember thinking like that's the proper way to do it. To me, a guy who used to cuss all the time and really, just cussing annoys. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me now. That was done so well. And satirical, if that's the word. Boy, I'm just reaching on vocabulary. And it was good.
Yeah, and we kind of did it incognito too. I didn't tell anybody at work other than the guy that I was working with that we were doing it.
Yeah.
All the guys that were other people in that video are people I've actually worked before. There was Steven Eilers, who I worked with at Mud Advertising when I left the business for a little bit. There were two guys that we used to have in our production staff, Mike Menon and Adam Andor. Well, Adam was actually a producer for us back in the day. They've moved on to other jobs. I'm like, I'm going to call up these guys, see if they want to be in this. Gary Kroger, who was on SNL in the 1980s, lives in Waterloo now, was the guy. We were using his house because it looked nicer than mine. So for a fake documentary, we had his fireplace and all that stuff. And there's the voice of the interviewer. That's actually him doing that voice. He was the one doing the fake interview with me. And we did it incognito because I figured if I'd initially gone to my news director and my general manager and like, hey, I have this idea. This idea sounds a little bit rough. And I think they would have said no. It's like, I want to have something done so I can show you guys this, that it's not, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And it came across really well. Again, one negative comment. It was my mom.
From his mom.
From my mom.
Where else you going to get behind the scenes facts like that, folks? You're going to get it here. You're going to get it here. That's for sure. All right, man. That's good. That is exactly how I wanted to start your episode. It really is. We're like 30 minutes in, so we got a solid 30 minutes to go, and let's get into the life story now.
This is really impressive, too. I'm generally not interesting after the 5-minute mark, so if we've made it to 30 and you're still over there smiling and laughing, I think we're doing much better than normal.
I got you booked, man. We'll make it work. Don't worry about it. Everybody's interesting. I can't remember if that was in my notes that I sent you, but that's kind of what I tell people.
I believe you did say that.
Everybody is. Like, even the most uninteresting people, if you let them share their story, I mean, look at what makes it to reality TV today.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it is garbage. Talk to real people. Everyone's got an opinion or a story or something. Yours happened to be a little bit more, I knew you had at least one good one. So.
Well, and it's garbage, when you talk about reality TV, because it's not reality. It's
not.
all scripted, and we all know it.
Yep. Okay, so after some brief technical difficulty, who knows how this is all going to look when it's edited, but
I think it's all right.
We're going back to the beginning. What was it like for you as a kid?
Yeah, growing up in Dike, I've always been a huge sports fan, and back in the day, we were the Daisy Street crew. Now, I didn't live on Daisy Street. I lived one street over on State Street, but 90% of my friends lived on Daisy Street, and that's where we played basketball. Sure. Our backyard baseball field was actually at a friend's house on Mamie Street, so one block over. He was part of the Daisy Street crew, too, so we were kind of the outsiders in Daisy Street, but they invited us in.
They let you in.
It was great. We played a lot of, backyard football, backyard baseball, basketball, obviously, of course, and I think I may hold the Dike, Iowa record for the most trips to the emergency room. Thankfully, I don't hold the record for severity. I didn't break any bones, but the number of stitches I had back in the day was just insane. It felt like I was there about once a month. That's probably an exaggeration, but that's what it felt like.
Sure.
A lot of it wasn't even sports. A lot of it was my sister's fault.
Did you get beat up by your sister? Is that what you're about to say?
I'm not directly, but through her mind games just a little bit. So I'm one of 4 kids, and there's a big gap between the first 2 and the second 2. Me and my sister were in the second 2. My older brother and sister, they were born in 1960 and 1961, and then there's the gap. My sister's born in 74 and me in 76. There's 13 years in between us, so we're like 2 sets of generations. We weren't best friends with them. They were best friends with each other. We were best friends with each other because we only lived in the same house for about 3 years. I love them dearly, but it's not like we hung out a ton because when you're 17 years old, who wants to hang out with their 3-year-old brother? Nobody does. So anyway, back to why my sister kept injuring me. Because she is evil. Evil by sister standards, not by Bible standards.
Right, there we go.
Right?
Okay, good clarification there. I was going to say, I was about to just make a disclaimer. Kids, it can feel like that.
No, she's actually, nobody would stick up for me more than my sister Susie. I love her to death, but man, back in the day, I spent a lot of time in the hospital because of her. And I'll just give you one really good example because we came up with some of the things that are just the dumbest ideas in history.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So... and there are still a lot of these garage doors around these days, but, generally back in the day, all the garage doors were those old fiberglass doors, and they were kind of, jagged, you had the inlets.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Right.
Yep.
So I guess I didn't look outside, but, they're less so. You have a lot more straight ones made out of the materials these days.
Yep.
But back then, we had one of those garage doors at our house. We had an old swing set that had been torn apart. We were putting it away. And we came up with this idea. It's like, oh, look at the slats in the garage doors. We could take the slide from this swing set, just kind of jab it in there, and we could slide down the slide on the side of the garage. Yeah, you're looking at me like that. I told you before this started that it was a really dumb idea. I don't even understand why we thought it would be fun. First of all, because it's like 4 feet long. And like the risk factor of what we were doing compared to the amount of enjoyment that we would have gotten out of it it's here and here. It is all over the place. So this went about how you would expect. So, of course, she being the evil one decided that you go first, Mark. Let's see how this goes.
Yep.
So, we get the slide out. We jam it into one of the slats in the garage door, and I climb up it, and it held. Made it all the way to the top, turned around, sat down, and I still cringe when I'm going to tell you what happened here because it's kind of nasty.
Oh, man.
So I get to slide down. I put my hands on the side of the slide, but my fingers are underneath it.
Oh, no. Oh.
Think you know where this is going?
Oh, I'm going to lose it.
I start to slide, falls off the garage door onto the concrete. My fingers get crushed in between that slide and the concrete. And You know when you squeeze a hot dog and the innards kind of just shoot out the end? It's kind of what happened to a few of my fingers.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And that's probably the worst injury story just because of how disgustingly gross that is.
Yeah.
And I'm thankfully it's been over 40 years, so I don't remember that much how much it hurt, but I'm sure it was a lot.
Yeah. What made her think? Like, because usually the indentations on those fiberglass doors are, what, a couple inches tops?
Oh,
What?
yeah, not even. It's probably an inch and a half or so. Yeah, inch and a half, maybe
my-
2 inches, but yeah.
See, that's we all say, today kids need to get outside, have more adventure, stuff. That's what we did
Yeah.
to do, and
This is generally not a thing that happens indoors. The worst thing that happened indoors is I fell off I was trying to do Superman off of a stool, and it was one of those rotating stools. So, of course, when I get up and I jump off, it moves, and I fall and crack my head open and get a bunch of stitches off that. And, oh, by the way, my older siblings, they also had that evil streak in them, too, just so you know. We had one of those, plastic carpet runners down our hallways.
Yep.
Which the top side's smooth, but the bottom side's like plastic spikes, so it would hold on to your
yeah.
carpet.
Okay, that kind. Yeah, I remember those.
So back in the day, and we fell for this way too many times. Like once should have been enough, but no, this happened multiple times where, we'd be playing in a room, and they would
Flip it.
and then scream at us to come like, yo, you got to come see this in the kitchen. We'd go running on those spikes, and those spikes hurt.
Wow.
Being plastic, they did not break the skin, but man,
Oh, they made it miserable.
we fell for that at least 4 or 5 times.
Wow, you are giving me vibes of like me and my brother. My brother's 3 years older than me, and yeah, why do we torment each other like that? Something wrong with the human brain when you're going to do that to your sibling.
So
Wow.
I still do things that people would probably consider not overly intelligent, but nothing to the slide on the garage door thing. But yeah, so that's what life was growing up in Dike. A lot of
Okay.
backyard baseball
Yeah.
and stupid tricks where your sister pushes you on the ice, has you set up a slide on the
Yeah.
garage doors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did like the skin come off the fingers, or are your fingers like really disfigured right now? Like,
No. There was a little scarring at first. It's all gone now.
Okay.
I have normal looking figure.
because that was
fingers.
about to be like a big behind the scenes thing. Like next time you see Mark holding that camera, check out his left hand. Look at how deformed. Look, 2 fingers are something like that. But if it's all healed up good, then,
Well, it is funny though. I do have like I built like a sports bar. It almost looks like a small TGI Fridays in my garage, and part of it there are tiles on the ceiling, and anybody comes over and visits the bar gets to write their name on the ceiling or do whatever they want. And on my ceiling is I think my favorite tile of what somebody's written on my ceiling. There's a guy from Dike named Shane Mulder. Shane Mulder back in the day lost a couple of his fingers, and he traced his handprint on the ceiling. And every time people come in, I'm like, I got to show them this one. Like that's somebody's actual handprint on the ceiling. And it's got
cool.
like 3 fingers sticking out. He is a great guy though. Obviously, he's got a sense of humor about
That's
it because
good
he traced
humor.
it on the ceiling. So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. That's good stuff. Okay, let's go to the teen years. You said you did some cross country, got out of the rambunctious phase and kind of focused and channeled that energy. How'd that work out for you?
I'd like to think I was a decent athlete by most people's standards. I wouldn't be, but I did a little bit of everything. In junior high, I played football. I switched football to cross country my freshman year in high school. Played basketball, played baseball, ran track for 1 season, and then actually played golf the next season. We didn't have a golf course at the time or a golf team.
Okay.
So I played golf for the Grundy Center Spartans. Grundy Center's got a pretty good
Yeah.
athletic department, as you've seen. Their
Wow.
golf team was really good back in the day. I was not. I don't know if I was the worst golfer on that team, but I was definitely bottom 2, bottom 3.
Okay.
And normally not that big of a deal. It's like, oh, he's not going to play varsity, and he'll be like one of the extras on JV or something.
Yeah.
But it turned into a big deal, and I believe this is true. I'm not 100% that what I'm about to say is true, but this is the story that I've heard, and I think it's from what I understand, I think it's accurate, but it's also might be one of these things that we thought in high school and we made up and it just became a true thing years later. But I believe this is true. We were not invited back to play golf at Grundy Center my junior year. That part I can 100% say is true because I didn't get to go. I wasn't given the option. Now, the reason is the thing that I think is true, but I'm not sure about. Because when they added us to the golf team, only 2 of us went over. We didn't contribute anything to the team. We were both JV or whatever.
Yeah.
But they had to add our enrollment for the state. And Grundy Center was probably the best golf team in Class 2A that year. But they didn't get to golf in Class 2A because when they added our enrollment, it bumped them up to Class 3A, where they were not the best team in 3A. So it's entirely possible that I may have cost Grundy Center a state golf championship.
Wow.
Now, to their credit, all the guys were great about it. Nobody has given me any grief about that over the years. You know, they may say things about us under their breath, but
Man.
I'm the JV kid who cost Grundy Center a state championship.
I say that about Dunkerton sports all the time. When I was in high school in the mid-'90s, we were getting a lot of these open enrollments from Waterloo, like Expo, and kids that were just having trouble staying out of trouble, and then they'd end up coming to Dunkerton. Well, then that bumps us from A to 1A, and I mean, you go, and I probably told this story on here 100 times, but me and the grade above me in football, we were undefeated, 4 years in junior high. So you get to high school and you just think, man, Tripola, Allison Bristow, Fredericksburg, they don't know what's coming. This is going to be a great 4 years. And then they bump you up to 1A and you start playing these other schools, and it's like, well, it's hard to win a game.
Yeah.
And none of those kids that increased our
difference.
enrollment, none of them, we're going to call it the Woodley effect. They came over to our school,
man.
but they didn't even go out for the sports. They were the kind of the kids that were just trying to, hey, this is your last shot. You got expelled here and here and here in Waterloo. You're going to go to Dunkerton. They didn't help us at all.
Well, for anyone watching or listening, I don't want the Woodley effect to become a thing. Let's just back off on that one for a minute.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that.
It's too late. You already
Yeah,
did.
it's out there now. It's out there for my hundreds of followers. So
yeah, that's my Grundy Center golf story.
Okay.
I mean, I was a fairly decent baseball player. I was decent as in I think that's the only sport I ever got all conference. But it was honorable mention, which also means nobody votes for honorable mention. I believe your coach puts you up for that. So
yep, I sat in on that one time when I was an assistant with the baseball team in Dunkerton. I didn't realize that's how they picked honorable mention.
Yeah.
And
so
because
no coach on any other team voted for me, as far as I know.
Which is it's sad, but that's the reality. But I'm glad they have that in there. But here's me sitting there doing this with the baseball. I didn't even play high school baseball, but I'm volunteering and helping out the team. And then when I see them get through all the first team, second team, and you got to tell why you think this kid is that, and then they get to honorable mention, and every coach just kind of throws their name out there. And I was like, oh, that's it? That's how you do it? And then all of a sudden I think back to like my senior year, and I'm like, I didn't get honorable mention. Well, that son of a, and that's the first thing that went through my head.
I didn't in the other sports, so there we go. But I did finish 42nd at the 1A state cross country meet my junior year, so that wasn't bad.
What's your best 5K time?
My best 5K, I think I went about 17:30.
That's very good. That's very good. Nice. You're going to be the deciding factor on this. We're going off the rails here. So I didn't get in shape at all until like my early 30s. Started doing 5Ks and stuff. I hated running the mile for high school.
Wait, do you enjoy running now?
No.
Okay.
I
if you got into it in your 30s and enjoyed it from that point on, then that's the opposite Woodley, because in my 30s when I decided it's like this isn't fun anymore.
No, I was in it for a few years, and then I got so bored with it that I started doing triathlons, because that's more fun. Now you got to spend time in the pool, and just the short ones, not the long ones. Well, then it's fun, because now you're biking, you're swimming, you're doing other stuff. But anyway, we never watched The Office when it was popular. We watched it, I think we started watching it during the lockdowns when it kind of had a resurgence. So then the HR guy in that show, Toby Flenderson, and I did a reel about this. He comes in and claims, the character Toby, not the real guy, claims that he ran I there's an episode and he says something like, oh, it was about 7-minute miles or 21-minute 5K. And I just did the math and I was like, I've done a lot of races, and at my fastest I was 22.5, and that's at Jessup Farmers Days, and they always shorten the course a little bit. It's probably about 3 miles. It's not 3.1. So call it 22.5, and I'm looking at this Toby Flenderson guy, and I'm like, he does not look like he can run a 21-minute. He does not look like he can put together 3 7-minute miles. The writers of that show should have made it more realistic. I've seen guys that run that fast. They don't look like him. They're a little more put together. And so I asked my family. I did a reel. I asked for people to, and I just thought overwhelmingly people would say, no, Toby couldn't beat you in a race, Bubba. No way. And not me now. Me about 185 5 years ago, whatever.
Do we know the actor's name? Can we tweet?
Oh, I
him
added him. I added him in that post. Somebody looked up his name, and I was like, I'd love to get him to respond to this.
My wife could tell you off the top of her head. I love the show, but I couldn't. I could tell you about 5, 6 of the actors' names. But
I'm just
saying,
saying, I'm just saying, okay, so you could run that fast, 17. That I was hoping you were going to say slower, so I could put you closer to that, and then you could say, oh yeah, Toby, there's no way he could run that, but you're way faster than us, so it doesn't help. But next time you look into it, you're the deciding vote. Do you really think? And I've got a reel. You'll just have to look it up on Instagram.
All right. Well, if you want to know how bad I was when I started, I was named, and this is a true thing, I was named most improved runner at our end of the end of the year banquet 3 times, which is the most you can get that.
Oh.
My first race, I think, was close to 25 minutes my freshman year.
Hey.
So I shaved off almost 7.5 minutes by the time I was done. So
absolutely.
It's not bad.
That is good. Yeah. Because running hurts. And you have to go through the pain to shave those minutes off. There's no way around it. There's no way to fake it. You got to run. You'll get faster.
And there was one race. I think my time was actually under 17 minutes, but it was at South Tama, which is notorious for really low times, which means it's probably maybe a quarter mile short.
Course? Oh, wow.
So, those aren't included in our team records because our coach is like, no, those don't count. And that's a man by the name of Dick Jewell. Dick passed away this past year, but if you know track in Eastern Iowa, you know Dick. He was, he coached track for between 60 and 70 years, I believe, before he passed away. He's just a legend and an amazing guy, and it was really cool to be able to run for him, too.
Yeah. He's got some integrity there. I like it. All right, let's move on to the college, kind of young adult years. You said you went to Central. Said you played a little bit of basketball and all that, but I'm going to let you kind of tell the details on that.
Yeah, I actually went to Central thinking I was going to play baseball. A buddy of mine and I that I met my first few days at Central had gone. We both went to the team baseball meeting, and we just heard some things that were like, no,
not for you.
This isn't for us. We're not going to, be part of that. So my first year in college, I didn't play anything. I mean, intramurals like everybody does. And my sophomore year, I decided, all right, I'm going to try this basketball thing. Played a bit in high school. Was never by any means what anyone would call a star or above average even. But I felt like I was still in shape and I'd try it. And,
sure.
I played a decent amount. And Division III plays JV teams also, unlike D1. So you've got the varsity team, and JV team goes and plays all the Iowa Conference schools too. And it was, I think I had a career high of 6, I think, over the course of my sophomore year. But, I had fun. And then I kind of gave up sports entirely. Still had a radio show on the radio station there, KCUI. Did a little bit of writing for the Central College Ray. Got a job at Vermeer Manufacturing. And my first job there, I was actually doing a real industrial job. Now, my first year that I was at Vermeer Manufacturing, I worked in the parts department. So we got orders. You picked parts, put them in a bin. Got them shipped off.
Yep.
So, okay. The second year I was there, I was in the contract division. So we were making John Deere construction road scrapers.
Okay.
And it was eye-opening because I was assumed like these giant industrial machines, and I'm sure a lot of them were made on an assembly line.
Yeah.
That's not the case. We built each one of those one at a time. There's a crew of 6 of us. we built the entire thing, and it took a few weeks for each one to get through. But it was kind of a neat experience to be able to do that.
Yeah.
One of the harder things I've had to do, and I think I came out the better for it.
Sure.
But all the guys I worked with were great, and they didn't care that I was some snot-nosed college kid only working here in the summer, but it was a fun time. And eventually I left college and got a real job.
Right.
I met my wife there, too. I should probably say that.
Yeah, you might want to.
Best thing that ever happened to me.
There we go. We'll edit that
Yeah,
and
can
throw
we
that right in. Like,
can we push it back to the beginning?
back to the front of that? Best thing that ever happened to me, I met my wife.
Now, she's the athletic one. She played volleyball her all 4 years at Central College. Her senior year, they made the Division III Final Four out in San Diego. They lost to UC San Diego in the Final Four game, and they still played a third-place game, and they just crushed Washington University out of Missouri in the third-place game. That was her senior year, and then after that, Central College won 3 consecutive national championships after she graduated, but just missed it.
She was in the building phase.
Right.
She was right at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Man. All right. So how'd you take that degree if you knew then, hey, manufacturing's probably not what I want to do long term. I want to use this degree. How'd you get started and become the guy that we all know today?
I know I'm a little thrown off because one of my sisters apparently knows that I'm talking about her. You said this isn't live, right?
It's not.
Okay, so
No, we're not streaming.
she's
We're
gonna
recording.
be mad that I didn't answer the phone. What were you doing? It was one of my older sisters, so the ones who flipped over the runner.
You can wait.
Right. Okay. How did I use the? Let's start that question over. Is it how did I use the degree? Get going.
Yeah, like where did you start? Where you said you were doing some radio and stuff like that, but once you graduated, where was that first real job in the media, the broadcasting, the sports journalism stuff?
Yeah, the first real job. Well, we'll actually start with my internship at KWWL, which I did in 2000, and it was a great experience because they let me do so much. They let me be on air as an intern. That was the year Iowa State almost reached the Final Four in men's basketball, and I got to follow along with them. They started the first 2 rounds up in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Then they went out to Auburn Hills, Michigan, where they won the Sweet 16 game. I can't remember against who, and then lost the Elite 8 game in a controversial way against Michigan State. But being an intern and being part of that was
pretty cool.
Pretty cool experience. So had that experience. It got me enough of a tape, and I've met some people at the other stations to where I was able to get my first real job. And that was as a photographer. It wasn't an on-air job at KGAN in Cedar Rapids. We all know it as Channel 2.
Yep.
I think they call themselves Iowa News now. They keep changing names.
They do. Yep.
But, no, it was a great experience. Chris Miller was a guy who was the sports director at KGAN at the time. And, I've learned this over my years that the sports departments, I think, are kind of understaffed. We all feel like it.
Okay.
So they try and pull help from wherever they can get it.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of opportunities to, shoot sports for them.
Okay.
I didn't do much reporting, but eventually it got to football season, and hey, we need some people to probably present stuff on air too during our Friday night football show. And so that's where I got my first on-air experience. Several months later, a bunch of the people in the sports department, somebody was sick, somebody was on vacation, somebody was out covering the NCAA tournament. We need somebody to anchor.
Yeah.
And you did all right on, on the Friday night show, so why don't you do that? So that was what allowed me to really get I would say, average tape together, enough to get me at least a few looks from people. It wasn't a good tape by any means.
Experience.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And that eventually led to Mason City. Now, I'm leaving a lot out, which I can summarize really quickly. I probably sent out tapes to over 100 stations across the country, maybe got called by 2 of them.
Oh, wow.
It was not an easy industry to break into at the time.
No kidding.
Either that or I was really terrible. Both are probably true. There's a little truth to both.
You're a humble guy, Mark. I like it.
Hey, I've gotten better.
You have, I guess. I like your stuff.
Yeah. So my first interview was actually at a station called KMEG in Sioux City. My first interview for an on-air job, and I was so nervous, and it was over the phone, and people who know me really well know that I don't like talking on the phone at all. I like to be able to see somebody else's reaction. Yeah. And when I'm on the phone, I'm always thinking they're judging me. I sound stupid, and I can't see their face to know what they're actually thinking. And I was also really hopped up on coffee that day because I was like, oh, I got to be ready for this, which was a huge mistake because I was just jittery. I couldn't speak in full sentences. And at the end of that interview, you're like, all right, we'll be in touch. And I hung up. It's like, nah, you won't.
Oh, that's good.
You might send me an email like we've moved in another direction.
Yeah. Oh, man. That sounds like me when I'm trying to run down these big guests, the bigger names, the more famous people. If I get a minute with them, I try and cram as much into a sentence as I can. And I just realize, like, they probably think I'm some sort of rabid hyena they're a piece of meat. And I just go at it just too, like JoJo, the idiot circus boy, and I'm all worked up. Yeah, it doesn't go well.
Yeah. No, during that interview, I said several sentence fragments, and I thought back later, it's like, I don't think any of that made any sense. They are not calling me back. I learned a lot from that, though.
Well,
I didn't do the coffee thing a second time.
Yep.
And about a month later is when I got the call for Mason City.
Okay.
And nope, sorry, that's I'm getting my timeline mixed up. Sioux City happened actually about the same time I got the Photog job at KGN, and then 2 years later.
Okay.
I moved on to Mason City. I was there a couple of years. Had a great time. We were able to cover the Vikings and a lot of the pro sports up in Minneapolis, which is really neat. And which it sounds like they're not doing that anymore. Apparently, the NFL tightened up a little bit on credentials because we were shooting Vikings games, and apparently KIMT doesn't do that anymore because the NFL doesn't credential it for them, and that's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, but it was a really great experience. And I eventually ended up back at Channel 7.
Yeah, good old Waterloo.
Yeah, was there for several years. Left the business for a while and came back, and I think I've been there 10 years straight now, and for the better part of the last 20.
Okay, what? You don't got to go into detail, but what did you leave for? Did you chase a dream? Did you just get tired of the business? Did you want to go a different direction?
2 and 3.
Okay.
I most definitely did not chase a dream because I was doing automotive advertising for one job, and that drug on me for a little bit. It's fine for some people. It wasn't me. And then I went to work for a financial services company and helped people. Basically employers administer their 401k plans, which shockingly I found more interesting than automotive advertising. So that should tell you a bit about that. And I'm not going to say the names of the employers just because,
Sure. No,
again, they're good people. It wasn't the right job for me. And it was my wife after a while. She's like, you are dragging all of us down.
Yeah.
It's clear you're not happy. And the reason, by the way, that I left was, yes, I was getting a little burnt out on what I was doing at Channel 7 at the time. Wanted to see what else was out there. Yep. The hours, and this hasn't changed, the hours working in this job are terrible.
Yeah.
Working weekends till 11 p.m., and I wanted a little more time with the family, and all that was great. And my wife told me, it's like, hey, it's nice that we see you more, but you're super depressing right now.
Yeah.
It's like you need to go back to what you were doing because you were at least happy doing it.
Yeah.
And we felt better then, too. So,
yeah.
So, that lasted roughly 2 years, and I came back, and I've been back ever since.
Yeah, that's right. That's how we all know you. I was going to say, I figured, man, I can't remember thinking back to when you weren't at Channel 7, but
I did come back just on a part-time basis while I was working the other two jobs to work the Friday night football show. So I've done Friday Night Heroes constantly for the last 20 years.
Yeah, see, and that's my thing right there. That's it. I don't want to start the rumor mill or anything, but with Ron, with Ron hanging it up finally, is Rick mentioned? Has he got any, or is he going to do this thing till he goes into the ground kind of thing? Because obviously I think you're the next guy up, right?
Rick is like me. Rick wants to stay in sports.
Okay.
In fact, Ron, I love Ron so much. Ron Steele is, he's the best at his job, first of all.
Okay.
He's an incredible human being. And if you see how kind Ron seems like when he's on air, Ron is that same guy off air. Ron is a person that'll do anything for you. I've held a couple of charity events, and he's always stepped up and helped me out with those kinds of things. But
Nice.
Ron once asked me, when he knew that he was going to be probably done with TV eventually, he asked me, he's like, hey, I talked to our general manager, and I want to let you know that he's one of the people, that you are one of the people that I told him that I think that should possibly replace me in this job.
Oh, really?
And I was floored. I mean, that's one of the best
Well,
compliments
that is
I've
a
ever gotten.
compliment.
That's
Holy cow.
And I was immediately honest with him. I was like, Ron, that is amazing. I don't want it.
Not for you, huh?
I don't know. The years that I worked as a news photographer, news can be so negative, so dragging sometimes. I didn't want to have to deal with that on a daily basis. And I have so much respect for those people who do and can handle that, because it is difficult to handle.
Sure.
I mean, it affects you personally.
I'm sure it does, yeah. Yeah, that'd be tough.
And you get a very small amount of that in sports. The amount isn't zero, but it's pretty close.
Sure. But I mean, like, if Rick says, I got another year or two in me, are you ready to take over for him, or is he?
Bubba, I'm 48 years old. I feel like I'm ready.
Yes, sir. All right.
I've been in the number 2 role for a while, and it's fine. Rick can hang out as long as he wants. But yeah, so eventually I think I'll be ready for it.
But like, it's probably not the proper lingo, but is like the main guy. When you say anchor, what's an anchor?
An anchor. So I'm an anchor. Rick's an anchor.
Okay.
An anchor is the guy at the desk.
Okay.
He anchors more than I do because he does it 5 days a week. I do it too. So I'm more of an anchor/reporter.
Yes. Okay. There you go. That clears it up.
So
for me right
so
there.
the main guy is the sports director. That's his job.
That's him.
Mm-hmm.
But you do anchor on the weekends and
correct.
And you pretty much
a lot during the week too.
Yeah, I gotcha.
We've both been there a long time, so we got a little bit of vacation that we get to use.
Nice. Oh man, we're at like the hour mark, but I got a couple questions I want to ask you, and I want to just give you guys a compliment. The way how you said the station sometimes will pull in people, when they need a little bit of help or whatever during the fall. The way you guys do it at Channel 7, like Friday Night Heroes, to me is just. It's my daughter, who just got married this past summer. For some reason, she told me, Dad, you know what one of my favorite memories was through high school? Maybe she told me when she graduated, not when she got married. She said it was because she was a cheerleader.
Yeah.
She says, rushing home from the game to watch Friday Night Heroes with you.
I love that. That is so good.
Because you guys, you know what I mean? You send all the guys out. Ron always got Hudson or Columbus. Yep. I love how that went. And
Ron still had to anchor the news at 6 and 10. So we couldn't send him very far.
No, and I figured he's got ties to both Hudson and Columbus, but that's fine. You guys just put on a really good show. It's so well. I love how the new faces. I do a fantasy football league with some of my old coworkers from Omega, and his son Tyler Metcalf was doing sports there, so I got to know him a little bit. And just watching how you guys, there'll be a different guy every so often, a new face who's never done, and just watching them guys try and learn how to, talk about it like you do and make it exciting, like you and the other guy.
Let's see. We've got John Wilmer down there.
Wilmer, that's it.
Yes,
that's it. That's the you and Wilmer. Like you pump the game up so big. You know what I mean? And you just make it. It doesn't matter if it's Wapsie or Jessup or if it's whoever or two schools I've never heard of. It's you guys hype it up so big and you. It's just such a good product to watch on Friday night. You guys do an amazing job. Well, I really love it.
In my opinion, what's a real testament to that show is, you talk about the new faces we have, but also all the old faces that we have on there. Guys like Joe Surma, guys like John Wilmer, guys who used to work at the station but still want to come back and do this kind of thing. Yeah. We have Jim Walker, who was a sports guy back at Channel 2. 15 years ago, still wants to come and work Friday Night Heroes with us. Ron Steele doesn't have to do this. He still does. I'm hoping we can get him back this fall. We'll see how that goes now that he's in retirement, but I'd love to think that maybe we get him back for Friday Night Heroes.
That would be a fun thing to do in retirement. Yeah. Man, that really would. I've got this idea of this secret formula, and I see it in your guys' thing, like Rick and you or Rick and whoever, like the banter, like you've only got precious seconds in between, reporting on the game.
Right.
But the banter, Dan Patrick has the secret formula. Don't fake anything. Just be who you are. Let your personality kind of come out. You watch the Dan Patrick show. It's just like you and your buddies getting together and talking sports. or talking entertainment or whatever. And so I see that for just glimpses when you guys have the time to make a joke or make a crack at somebody. That's what people want to see. Woodley and Coleman chuckle it up for a couple of seconds in between, the thing. That's what people just want to see, authenticity.
And, that's what I tell up-and-comers. And I don't know if people believe me when I say this, but it is the hardest thing that we do. It is really hard to get on camera and not try and, be the really polished sports reporter, try and mimic somebody else and not be who you are. I mean, back when I was bad, and again, I'm pretty sure I was, that's what I was doing. The personality, like you saw in the viral winter video 10 years ago, I'm not doing that on air. Sometimes you don't feel comfortable being yourself and showing people who you are, but that's what they want. They want you to be authentic, right?
Yep, that's exactly
and
it.
It's really hard to do, but I tell people, coming into this business, like that's where you want to be, where, people know who you are.
Yep. That's it. Words of wisdom from Mark Woodley. Okay, I got to give you one. I've got like 5 of these questions here. We got to wrap it up, but I got to get one of these.
Okay.
1 or 2 of these in here. All right, so we'll squeeze this in right at the end. I just got to know, in all your years so far, and you said you've gotten to travel, you got to cover some things. What's the most memorable, I don't even want to say game or whatever, or event, but just what's the most memorable sports moment that you covered or you were a part of?
Most memorable sports moment. I mean, there's got to be 2 of them.
There we go.
And they're all very recent. I've done a lot of really cool things. Got to do the Rose Bowl. That was incredible. But I'd never gotten to see a team, at least a college team, get close to winning a national championship. In the last 2 years, I've gotten to see the Iowa women do that. I mean, they're 2 clinching wins out of the Elite Eight to reach the Final Four the last 2 years. I mean, those will stick with me forever. And let's talk a little, just a quick moment about that. 10 years ago, if you look at your friends, and my sister was a manager on the 1993 Iowa women's basketball team that made the Final Four, the previous one before these 2 Caitlin teams.
Okay.
So I'd followed, women's basketball at Iowa State, UNI for quite a while. But 10 years ago, if you tell your friends that you're a fan of women's basketball, they might look at you a little funny.
Yeah.
Nobody looks at you funny anymore.
Nope.
I mean, that's what that Iowa basketball team did. They made it cool to like women's basketball. Now they're outdrawing the men. I mean, this is something I thought I'd never see, and it is fantastic where it's come.
I agree 100%. I didn't watch college women's basketball at all until that Caitlin Clark Jr. year.
All right.
That'll do it for part 1 with everyone's favorite local sportscaster / sports anchor, Mark Woodley. I hope his story and the things he shared, I hope it encouraged you, entertained you, made you laugh a little bit, maybe even enlightened you or challenged you. He had a season there where he kind of changed direction in jobs and led him right back to what he's in now, the sports media thing. Sometimes it ain't all about the paycheck. Sometimes it's about, enjoying what you do or something like that. There's other things to consider. So like I said, everyone has a story to tell or an experience to share, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Let people share what life has been like for them. But this isn't the end of his episode. There's going to be a part 2 next week. We're going to get into his segments. You guys aren't going to believe the ones he picked out. We're going to have some laughs. We may also get into some more serious topics like Caitlin Clark. We're kind of getting to it at the end. Women's basketball, name, image, and likeness. You want to get the ins and outs on that. Mark is in that business. Not technically in the business. If you're in the name, image, and likeness business, you've got a ton of money. Mark is around that area.
You saying I don't have a ton of money? No, that's pretty accurate.
If you had to borrow the guy's house to shoot that little satirical documentary, if that was your house, I'd say
Okay, I did out myself as being poor. That's my fault.
But when I saw that commercial, I thought, is that his robe? Is that his house? He's got man, Woodley's living large, man.
Not my house.
But we're going to get into all that stuff. Caitlin Clark, name, image, and likeness, all that stuff. Its impact on college sports. So you're going to want to come back and listen to his take on that kind of stuff. If you enjoyed this episode, share it. Share it. That's how we grow. Share it with your family, your friends. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, wherever you're listening or watching. Leave us that 5-star, all that good stuff. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We do reels. We do merch giveaways. Get on there. Make sure we're not doing some sort of contest. Get in on that. You can email me your questions, your comments. You got guest ideas. You got segment ideas you want to hear. whatisuppodcast@gmail.com. If you need help with anything you heard today, or maybe it got you thinking about something and you need to talk deeper and get some help, go ahead, reach out. I live for those moments. I'll respond. I'll help any way that I can. Guys, I thank you so much for listening. It really means a lot to me and my family. So, Lord willing, I'll talk to you on the next one.